You began your career at a time when the British cinema was making some of the best comedies ever made, some of the Ealing comedies.
Yes.
How do you think comedies today stand up to the Ealing films?
Oh, you mean some of the great Ealing comedies?
Yeah.
Well, I think in certain instances very well. Yeah. But
What did those
mind
films
you,
have that was so...
oh, they had a magic. You see, they had a magic. They had the magic of that wonderful school. It was a school. It was like a school, Ealing Studios. They produced some marvelous actors, marvelous directors, headed by, you know, wonderfully eccentric Sir Michael Balkan, wandering around asking people if he was all right. Am I all right today? So, you know, am I all right? Things like that. And think of the movies that came out of that studio. I was fortunate to be in one of the last ones that ever came from there, called Lady Killers.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Ealing before it was sold to the BBC. Wonderful place. And those were great times. I think, but there are films being produced, but I know of the same genre as perhaps the Lavender Hill Mob, you mean, and Whiskey Galore and things like that. Well, of course, you see, economics have changed so much it's been absolutely impossible to make the type of film they made for anything. I mean, they used to be able to turn them out on an extremely small budget.
Yeah. Well, the British cinema has had such great ups and downs.
British cinema, yes, unfortunately, is almost non-existent, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
Very sad, because there's only really one major studio left open in England.
Pinewood or?
Pinewood
Yeah.
Studios, yeah.
Well, the point I was going to make about the Ealing films, though, in connection with your new picture, Revenge of the Pink Panther, which is a very, very funny picture, and if you will permit me to say, you're marvelous in it. But don't you think that the Pink Panther films are getting broader and broader with each one, or does that bother you?
Well, you know, if I thought I was locked into doing the Pink Panthers for the rest of my life, it most certainly would bother me a lot. But as this will probably be my last one.
You think so?
Yes. At least, shall we say, certainly for a nice period of perhaps, I don't know, shall we say a good respite of the nature of, I don't know, what, 100, 200 years, maybe, something like that.
I think that's a good breather. Yeah.
What?
That's a good breather.
That's a breather. I think we need a breather, in other words. You're quite right. I think that they are getting broader. Every day, thank heaven. That's true. I think the last one was quite, you know, quite a lot of slapstick in this last one. And I'm not sure whether it's a good thing or it isn't. I think that we just do them, you know, and we hope they'll work out. And I think we've been very lucky in the ones we've done up till now. I'm sure if you ask Blake, he'll probably say, well, look, the films make such an enormous amount of money. Who are we to tell the public, you know, what they want to see or what they don't want to see? But I don't entirely agree with that. Well, of course, Blake and I don't entirely always agree with each other about things. Why should we? I mean, that's what creativity is all about. But there again, you see, I think that it's not always a good thing to give the public what they want. Sometimes you should do it for your own self-fulfillment. I mean, you should make films like you find Cassavetes doing things, you know, stuff like that.
Very personal.
Very, very personal. I think you have to every now and again. But, of course, the great thing that the Panthers have done for us is that they've given us the opportunity to make the films that otherwise we would not have been able.
Of all the really great characters you've played in films, do you have a favorite? Or two or three favorites? Like I just saw Waltz of the Toreadors not long ago, and what a memorable,
there happens to be one of them,
performance.
Actually. That and Dr. Strangelove are the two movies that I remember making, and I think you can only judge a film later. You can't judge it at the time. You should go and look at it in retrospect, you know, and then see it, because you can't see it at the time. It's impossible. I've seen Waltz the Toreadors, I've seen Strangelove several times, and I enjoy looking at them. They seem another life, another time, another place to me.
Yeah.
It's like looking through some snapshots, actually. Looking through a book and saying, oh, that was me when I was at so-and-so with so-and-so. And a movie becomes a series of snapshots for you.
Well,
Those two.
when a script is sent to you, do you know right away if it's good for you or?
Oh, immediately.
Do you?
Yeah. Yes, then I've got a very keen eye for... Mind you, I've made as many mistakes as the next man, whoever that is. And I can't say that, you know, that I've got, and I don't think I know of any actor that has.
Mm-hmm.
I was very lucky. I opened my career with a burst of successes. I had 5 in a row. I couldn't go wrong. And then I did a run of disasters. But there you are. Most actors seem to have this sort of graph of their life. If you look
Yeah.
at it, it's never in a straight line or going like this all the time. It sort of goes up, peak, stays going up a bit, stays, and then sometimes does this for a bit, and then goes way up again, you know, and I'm sure that's perfectly normal. I don't think it could be any other way, really.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the business for what it is.
When did you, I'll ask you the question that I know everybody else is asking. When did you discover that you could do these many marvelous voices?
Well, I
Did it
used
happen
to-
by accident? Or?
Well, no. I mean, I used to work in radio for years for the BBC
Mm-hmm.
as a voice man. Used to do a lot of voices, and the more voices you could do, the more money you got, you know? More jobs you got. I mean, regional dialects. I mean, if you could specialize in regional dialects of your own country, for example, then you'd get special pay. For example, people say, how many types, what's the Cockney accent? Do me the Cockney accent. Well, there are 5 different Cockney sounds alone,
Mm-hmm.
you see? Now, you know, I can do those as it happens. Not that people are interested in that, except if you're doing a purist play
Yeah.
set in London, in a particular area.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to say, okay, that guy comes from a certain part of London, and I'll nail that part of London, you know, I'll put that there,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever part of the country. And then I started to do voices from other places, and I made up voices, and for example, I sometimes find that mixing sounds. I remember on Dr. Strangelove, little Ouija passed away, the photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed him. I do a lot of interviews for myself, and I go around with a tape recorder because I hear people talking and I want their voices. And I use a mixture of his voice with something else added to make up the sound of the character of Dr. Strangelove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ouija was a little guy from New York, see? He used to talk like that. He used to say, I'm looking for a guy with a beautiful body and a sick mind. Little fella, little tiny guy. He was old when I knew him, when he was working on the Pink Panther, see? He was very old. I got 2 minutes to go. I saw that. And so what I did, see, what I did was to put a German accent on the top of Ouija's voice. So what happened was this thing here. So we are getting Dr. So suddenly I found that it is better to do Dr. Strangelove with this high sound here, which made him very strange.
So I have Ouija to thank for Dr. Strangelove. Same as I have Norman Granz, the jazz impresario, to thank for Claire Quilty. Because Stanley wanted me to do an impersonation of Norman Granz. So that's virtually an impersonation. That's nothing more than my next will be Norman Granz saying, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give a really great ovation, a warm London welcome to Ella Fitzgerald and Oscar Peterson, and here they are.
That's Norman Granz.
That's Norman
Yeah.
Granz, yes.
What is the strangest one that you concocted purely from your imagination?
Strangest one from imagination?
Yeah. Based on nobody.
On nobody.
Yeah.
Offhand, I can't answer that one.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite? A voice that you'll lapse into on the phone, perhaps, or something?
Well, I usually, when I'm on the phone, I usually lapse into, you know, if I answer the phone and I don't want to be in, I do a workman who's there, you know, repairing something. I do an old Cockney, and I suppose I use him, old mate I call him, I use him most of the time, and answer the phone. Hello, could I speak to Peter Sellers, please? Who? Settlers. Peter Settlers? I don't know, mate.